everybody, it's me, Megan from Joyful Mud Puddles. Today, I wanted to talk to you all about self-regulation. Parenting is not a competition. It's not like we've got some secret thing that we don't want to share with the rest of them. Our children need calm, gentle parents. Other parents, moms, they're struggling with big feelings and big emotions. So instead of keeping all this information to yourself, if you have any friends or family that you think might benefit, please invite them to join us so that they can all share in this incredible information that I'm sharing with you. I also have a lot of freebies that I'm giving away and posters, so everyone should be able to enjoy those free products. So let's get going. So for self-regulation, I have this incredible model that I wanted to show you and explain to you what happens when we're triggered. Now, Dr. Daniel Seeger has the best model for this, and it's called the hand model. So imagine this is your hand, okay? Gotta get it on the screen. So imagine this is your hand and it's your brain. Now, our brain has a brain stem and it has a limbic system. Now, the limbic system is regulates just your automatic responses. That's the breathing, the digestion, those types of things, your heartbeat that you don't automatically, like they happen automatically. Now, in your limbic system, it also regulates that fight, flight, or freeze mode that happens often when we're triggered. Those are things, automatic responses that our bodies do. I've also heard someone say that inside this center part of your brain is also where long-term memory is also stored, like from your childhood. So that comes into play as well. Now, if you close your fingers over your hand, that would be your cortex. That's the reasoning, thinking part of your brain. This part right here, right behind your forehead, that has to do with your making good decisions and thinking and reasoning. Now, when you are triggered, when you are upset, you flip your lid. Now all reasoning has gone out the window and you are responding with fight, flight, or freeze mode, okay? Of course, now we're not thinking straight, we're not able to reason and make good responses. Now, the funny thing is, if you have a child or another person in the room, there is an actual thing called mirror responses. Now, mirror responses are when you flip your lid, then your child flips its lid too, because they copy you. Now, everyone's out of control and everyone's screaming and fighting and no one's making any sense. Now, one way that you can overcome this is to take a deep breath. Okay, so when you breathe, more oxygen's getting to your brain and more connections are happening. And look at that, you're able to reconnect, you're able to think, you're able to reason, and you're able to make wise decisions. Now, the reason I mentioned about the long-term memory, which I have to double check, but I do believe it's correct, is that when you flip your lid, as a parent, you're responding to how you were as a child or how you were parented by your parents. So if that was well done, great. But if it wasn't, then that's often why we say, oh my gosh, I'm becoming my mom. Or that's the way I was parented, because that's all that's going on in your brain at that moment. So we want to make sure that we catch ourselves before we're triggered. Now, the hand model is really great to show children and explain what's happening in their brain. And then they're able to let you know that they're about to flip their lid. Young children can explain that and understand what's going on. So I wanted to explain that hand model. It helps a lot with self-regulation. Another thing I wanted to talk to you today about were some strategies to help manage those feelings. So when you're feeling stressed and about to be triggered, and that's the biggest thing, is everyone's always saying, it's all well and fine to tell me all these great things afterwards, but like right in the moment, when my kid's screaming or I'm feeling flustered, how can I stop myself before it even happens, before I freak out, before I get upset and embarrass myself? So some things that I want to mention, one would be to really take a look at your triggers and how that feels and what that looks like in your body, because then you can notice before you get too triggered. So what I'm talking about is take a look at your patterns. Journaling is a great way to do this. And every time you get upset, where do you feel that in your body first? For me, my cheeks are probably bright red because I was feeling a little anxious before going live, but I can feel that the heat goes right to my cheeks when I'm feeling upset. So as soon as I feel my cheeks getting hot, I can work on calming myself down before it gets too far. Some people feel like a tingling in their fingers. Other people might feel their heart rate going faster. So the more you're observant about where in your body you feel those responses, then you can catch yourself sooner before you get triggered. Okay? So another thing to do is when you're feeling really anxious, you're either angry or upset, whatever, you're trying to regulate your emotions, you want to come up with some tricks to stop yourself. One thing would be, so on your wrist, right around where you take your pulse, and that one way to calm down would be to tap your wrist right there. It's sort of like an acupuncture point, but that distracts your mind and helps you calm down. So there's one strategy you can try. Another one would be to yawn. Yawning induces more oxygen into your body. And again, that's what we want, more oxygen to our brain so that the whole part of the brain is thinking. So if you yawn, or even force yourself, that's why everyone's like, take deep breaths, take deep breaths. So either force a yawn or take deep breaths. That's going to get more oxygen we want to breathe. Another one is some parenting mantras. Now, you want to practice these. Practice is the key. Practice when you're calm as much as you can so that when you're upset or when your kids are upset, then those are now your automatic responses. And don't worry if you're not perfect the first time, because the more often you catch yourself, even in the middle of the act, you're creating more new pathways. And the more new pathways you've got, then that's going to be now your first response. So parenting mantras, I have a poster on my shop at my website, and post them all over the place. Come up with what works for you. And it can be just as simple as, I can do this. So my kids are always hearing me mutter, I can do this, I can do this. Also, this is an emergency. Because most of the time, if it is an emergency, by all means, just survive the moment. But if it's not an emergency, which most often it isn't, then you're telling your brain to calm down. You could also remind yourself that my child is having a hard time not giving me a hard time. And that's another great mantra or strategy that you can have. So posting up mantras, practicing them, look in the mirror every day to remind yourself of the things that you want to be. I am a calm parent. I can choose love. Whatever your key phrases are, practice those often so that when you are triggered and you are upset, that's what the first thing that's going to come to your mind. Another good strategy to help you in the moment is to change your posture. Physically, my sister taught me this, and it is fantastic. We made a game of it with my children, and I'm going to be hopefully remembering to repeat that again tomorrow. But if you are, when you're angry or you're triggered or you're upset, okay, think about your posture. Most of the time, your shoulders go up and you clench your fists, or your body tenses up when you're anxious and upset. Now, what I want you to do is force your shoulders down. Now, we practice this in our family room, so everyone's walking around, and I ask them to physically show your body being angry. Okay? Now, have you ever tried to be angry? What's the opposite of that? Relaxed. Go into like your most relaxed, cool dude kind of mode. if you try to sound angry when your body is relaxed, it confuses your brain. You can't do it. Sometimes when my kids are really upset, I'll come at them in this relaxed mode because I remember mirror neurons. Plus, it's really funny, and I'll be like, "Oh, I'm so angry," and they get laughing, and they're like, "Okay, yeah, I get it, Mom. I'm acting a bit crazy," and they'll calm down. So it really works. Change your posture, and it tricks your brain, and then you're calm again. Another great strategy is to check in with yourself. This is a great self-care one as well. So if you check in often with yourself, set a timer for every hour or 2 hours during the day. And when the timer goes off, check in, ask yourself how you're feeling. Because a lot of self-regulation has to do with self-care. We push our bodies, we push ourselves mentally too far, and then when we get upset, we're set off because we didn't care for our own needs earlier in the day. And a lot of the time, self-regulation, when my kids are upset and they've gone off the handle, it's because they were hungry or thirsty or hot or tired. And those are all things we could have prevented in the first place. So check in on your children often, check in on yourself often during the day. I also wanted to show you this great thing. So we're going to try screen sharing and see how that goes. So this is called the Stop Mindfulness method. I've heard this method so many places that I can't actually track down the original person. So you'll have to forgive me for this. I cannot give credit where credit is due for the originator, but I created my own version of the wording of this that really spoke to the message that I'm trying to share with others. So what that looks like is when we're like, stop. When you yell the word stop, the first things that now can come to your mind is it's an acronym. So the S stands for stop what you're doing. Likely this isn't an emergency, so you want to drop your agenda. Were you really forcing the kids to like get out of the door on time? What is the worst that would happen if you're like a few minutes late? Or stop. If for a kid, I talk to them about when I say drop the agenda, it's were you trying to play a game too long with someone and it just wasn't working? Or were you forcing someone to share? Stop forcing your agenda on someone. Also, stop yelling, talking, and panicking. That's the key one, is the stop talking and yelling and hitting or whatever you're doing. When you yell stop, you want to just physically stop. And I practiced this with the kids as well. We did it for fun when they were calm, so that when they were upset and I yelled it that day, they remembered what this stood for. So I had them walk around the yard, and we talked about what the S meant. S is for stop. And I said, when I yell stop, you stop. And we're going to look around and see if everybody stopped what they were doing. The next one was T for take a few deep breaths. You can also use this time to take a break, take control of your emotions, and calm yourself down. Use some of the strategies I had mentioned. Walking away is another great one, especially if you feel like you're going to just totally lose it. Another thing some people like to do is to have a drink of water or go to the bathroom and splash some water on your face or wash your hands, something to distract the mind. So what you would do if you're practicing this with your kids is for round 2, walk around the room or the yard. When you say stop, now you're checking for 2 things. Did they physically stop? And ask everyone how they went. And T, take a few deep breaths. The third one is O for observe. Observe objectively what's going on. Sometimes we pass judgment on a situation, and that's a lot where the tattling and blaming comes in. He did this, she did that. And you might be feeling the same way too. You want to observe without judge or blame what is actually happening in the moment. The also thing for O for observe is to consider your needs and feelings that are most present at the moment. Anger is usually a warning sign, like a red light on your dashboard for something, a deeper need or a deeper feeling that's actually happening. So what are the feelings? How are you feeling? How's your child feeling? And what are your needs? What is it they're actually needing? Were they needing more attention? Were they needing some physical care? When we, what's the word? I think they said like negative feelings or negative behavior is often a tragic expression of unmet needs. So what I do with my kids is when they're walking around the yard and I say stop, then they physically stop, they take a few breaths, and then I have them look around the yard or the room, and they each take turns and tell me what they observe is going on and check in with me on how they're feeling. The last one is P for plan. Now, I've written it as plan and then proceed instead of proceed with a plan because I didn't want people to just jump right in and start proceeding without thinking first. You want to plan first. What do you need to ask of yourself or someone else? What strategies or techniques can you use to move forward? Is this a short thing that like I need to practice right now some more of my calming techniques because I'm still upset? Then that's a great plan. Did you figure out what your need was? Is your next plan to go and eat or go to the bathroom? Or was your plan to brainstorm some resolution to the fight or the conflict, maybe sharing or taking turns or playing a different game? So you want to think. Now, for those of you with a strong faith, P can also be great for pray. Prayer is another one that my family uses because we're Christian, but you can sub in whatever works best for you. So we're back now. I wanted to let you know that stop poster is free. It's in my shop. That's joyfulmudpuddles.com/shop. So you can download that for free. And there's also another kit that's available with just some little mindfulness cards, and it's for $1. That's on there as well. Now, before I go, I wanted to talk about some more long-term strategies for self-regulation. We talked a lot about what to do in the moment, right when you're upset. But it's really important also to talk about what to do long-term, how to keep practicing and how to improve on self-regulation. So a few things. Journaling is huge. It's a really, really good one. I know some people are adverse to that, but the more you write down your thoughts, the more you explore why am I triggered, then it gets your brain thinking. I was just going for a walk with my son one day in the forest, and I sort of noticed some behavior that was with him. And so we didn't actually journal, but reflective listening and reflecting on the situation. He thanked me by the end of the walk. He said, I hadn't even considered some of these things, but the more I got talking, it just sort of came out. And now I can see why I've been behaving this way and why I've been acting that way. So journaling or reflecting on talking to somebody else. Meditation is a great one. Any mindfulness activities that you can do to center yourself, and also coaching. Reach out if you have for any mental health issues or depression that you're facing, or anger or rage if you're struggling, or work with me. I am a parenting coach and a homeschool coach, and that's a lot of what we do in my courses. That is reflecting, journaling, and I've got more techniques to go over for self-regulation. So that's the main part of today. Be sure to watch this video. Share with me your biggest takeaway in the comments. I want to know what really resonated most with you. What did you get out of this video? Be sure to check on the other links that I've added